Welcome back to Dusseldorf and the World Table Tennis Championships, and what action we have in store for you now. It's a men's doubles match. It's round 3, and it is the numbers 1, 2 and 3 in the world in action, and Mr. Table Tennis Germany, Timo Boll. 4 tables in action, as you can see. We'll be focusing on the action on table 1. Players marching in now with the officials. They march out into their respective courts, and they are then introduced to the crowd, and there they are. What a trio of Chinese players. Zhu Jin coming up at the back, Fan Dong, those two playing together, and their opponents Timo Boll and Ma Long. So the crowd looking forward to an exciting encounter. Best of 7 games, first pair to win 4 games through to the quarter-final. So Timo Boll there at the head of the group of players. Ma Long, the world #1 Olympic champion. So we have a Germany-China combination, and they're up against Fan Dong and Zhu Jin. Fan ranked at number 2 in the world, Zhu Jin at number 3 in the world. You won't see a much more impressive lineup than that on the screen at this point in time. My name is Don Parker. Sat next to me in the commentary box, Jill Hammersley-Parker, former European champion. A lot of experience at World Championship level. How do you see this one going, Jill?
I can hardly hear from the spectators. There's a very big support from China, and obviously from the home country for Timo Boll. Well, what do you say about these two? Timo Boll and Ma Long, they won in 2013 the China Open, and Fan Zhendong and Zhu Jin won the China Open in 2015, so it should be a very close encounter.
The umpire who will be in charge of affairs. Not an easy job for the umpires here, quite a bit of pressure. They've got to make sure that it's a level playing field, no player has an advantage. And there we have the assistant umpire. The players now are in their respective corners. They've been introduced to the crowd, as you saw. Tracksuits removed. Last-minute chat with the coach. Interesting that Boll and Ma Long being coached by Jörg Roscoff, the German coach. Ma Long speaks English quite well. Be interested to know what language is being used in that corner, Jill. I suspect English, if I'm... Certainly Jörg Roscoff speaks very good English, as indeed does Timo Boll.
Yes, I don't think Roscoff could speak Mandarin, or I could be shocked, I don't know. But I think it would be English.
And so the players now will have a 2-minute practice before we start this 3rd round men's doubles encounter. Of course, this is reminiscent of 2 years ago, when in the 2nd round Timo Boll and Ma Long played against Zhu Jin and Zhang Yike. Thomas Bach there in the crowd, the president of the International Olympic Committee, hails from Germany, so we can expect Thomas Bach to be supporting Timo Boll and Ma Long. Left-handed, right-handed combination. Fan Dong, there you see confirmation, ranked number 2, 20 years of age. Certainly one to watch in the future. Wang Hao, what a player he was. Probably still is, but he's retired from international table tennis.
I've watched him many a time, Wang Hao, and what a fantastic player he was. fast and furious round the table.
Looking back at the records, Jill, I noticed that you actually won a medal at the World Championships in women's doubles, playing with a Hungarian player, Beatrix Kishazi. Does it put any sort of extra pressure on you when you play, not with a teammate from your own country, but someone from a rival nation, really?
Well, I think because we were both defensive players, we complemented each other, and it was sometimes always difficult for a defender to play with an attacker. So it worked quite well. We got a bronze medal.
Jörg Roskopf, legend of German table tennis, 1989, won the men's doubles at the World Championships in Dortmund. What a tournament that was. Germany have hosted the Worlds on many an occasion and often put in some amazing performances, and that was certainly one of them. Stefan Fetzner, Speedy Fetzner, and Jörg Roskopf winning the men's doubles. And of course in 1989 the domination of China was challenged and they were overtaken by Sweden, beat them 5-0 in the final of the team event, and it was an all Swedish men's singles final. The legendary Jan-Ove Waldner beating Jürgen Persson in the final. So pre-match practice complete. Two left-handed, right-handed combinations. Marlong gives a little signal under the table, lets Timo Boll know the serve he would like. What a start! If that's what we're going to see throughout this match, what a match it's going to be. Players throwing their whole bodies into those forehand topspins.
It doesn't get better than that, does it?
Great flick there by Fan. Got the angle out wide. Zhuzhin there on the left of the screen, an amazing doubles play. Won the mixed doubles in 2015 in Suzhou, playing with the Korean player Yang Ha-yun, and indeed he won the men's doubles at the Suzhou World Championships, playing with Zhang Jike. His nickname in China is the Anaconda, and you can see why. He's so wiry, he moves so well, contorts his body, fantastic footwork. Plays with the penhold grip, but has the ability to use both sides of the racket, called the new technique, which is the reverse backhand topspin.
It's also interesting that we've got both pairs, a left and a right.
Certainly an advantage. Left-hander playing with right-hander. There are combinations that have won world championships, right-handed. But I think technically the left-hander playing with the right-hander is the best combination. It allows both players to dominate with the forehands. Having said that, the way the modern games develop, people are equally strong now on the backhand. The backhand topspin has improved massively over the last 15, 20 years. Almost, if not as powerful as the forehand. Timo Boll there, 36 years of age, the senior pro out there, former world #1, won the European Championship a record number of times. Good forehand topspin down the line from Boll. 3 Olympic gold medals to his name. And his partner, Marlong, well, it doesn't come much better. World champion, Olympic champion. Certainly in my time of watching the sport, one of the all-time greats.
Both pairs trying to dominate. Trying to keep out the service, follow in, off service whenever possible.
Clever topspin by Marlong. Slow, spinny shot. Raised his hand. Maybe he didn't quite get the contact he was looking for, but it turned out to be very advantageous. Let's serve. Zhu with the serve, 27 years of age, ranked 3 in the world. That's a good backhand from Fan Dong. He's the youngster out there, 20 years of age. Bronze medalist in the last World Championships in Suzhou. Oh, ball's on fire here. 1, 2, 3 in the world, and Timo Boll at number 8. But he's certainly not being overshadowed by the top 3 players in the world. Far from it.
Oh, look at that footwork of that.
Zhu just standing over slightly to the backhand side of the table, looking to get in with that forehand topspin when he gets the chance. Signal from Timo Boll under the table. Ma Long knows the serve his partner would like. What a great shot by Ma Long there. It was an aggressive topspin, but he stayed close to the table, made the counter topspin. But it was Fan and Zhu who won the point.
He wouldn't be happy with that one. I think he would think that was an error on his part.
Placed into his body, as we'll see here. Perhaps he could have just done a little step to the right, just create a little bit more room between his body and the racket. Again, Ma Long perhaps slightly cramped when he played that forehand topspin. He was keen to get round to play the forehand from the backhand side, but it was a great flick into his body. Total body action from Ma Long there, and the ball goes like an absolute rocket. Just watch his body here. It's almost 180-degree rotation.
It was the speed he stepped in and played the shot.
Great return from Zhu. Good flick. Gives Fan and Zhu 2 game points. Players towel down, they can do that after every 6 points. And it's now Zhu with the service. Little signal there from Fan Zhendong. One game point saved. 10-9. What a shot by Ma Long. $8,000 seats around these 4 tables, and we're getting pretty close to capacity now, and they certainly enjoyed that one. Here it comes from Ma Long. Fan Zhendong didn't even move. He did then. He got round his backhand, played the forehand on the diagonal, put a little bit of side spin on it as well. 3rd game point for Fan Zhendong and Zhu. It's a great flip return.
Slightly long there, slightly long. But then he did step in, you know, as you say, great receive.
Quite as much backspin. Lifts and just lifts a little bit too much. Wasn't the backspin on the ball that he thought. So it's a game point now for Timo Boll Marlong. And Fan Shendong just hesitates there. Wasn't sure whether the ball was going to bounce over the table. And that slight hesitation means that Timo Boll Marlong take the first game 13-11. And so the players back to their coaches in the corner. Words of wisdom from Wang Hao, Jörg Roskopf. That'd be one heck of a match, Jill. Wang Hao versus Jörg Roskopf. Both all-time greats, no question about that.
No, I wonder who'd win.
I think age is on Wang Hao's side.
But then Jörg Roskopf still looks, you know, a fit guy as well.
European champion back in 1982 in Stuttgart. Interesting statistics on the table. A few more unforced errors from Boll and Mar, possibly the difference between winning and losing. Outright winners, 5 each. Not a lot between the two, but maybe those couple of unforced errors from Fan Shendong and Zhu Jin, the difference, it was very close at 13-11, and now it's Zhu Jin with the serve. So just a reminder, it was in the second round 2 years ago at the last World Individual Championships that Timo Boll and Marlong came across Zhu Jin. This time Zhu Jin was playing with Zhang Jike, and it was the two Chinese players who won. So it's a little bit of deja vu, albeit from Zhu Jin's point of view, he's replaced Zhang Jike with Fan Shendong. Not many you could swap Zhang Jike with, but Fan Shendong, not a bad swap.
Well, China have got such a depth in players. I'm sure there's a few that could replace Zhang Jike. Well, in the earlier rounds, Chinese players, they beat opponents from Croatia and France, and Timo Boll and Marlong, they beat players from Hungary and India.
So there's never any easy matches at the World Championships, that's for sure. But this is a tough draw for the third round. It's very interesting how they do the seeding. At the moment there is a world circuit, and doubles combinations acquire points as they compete around the world. And of course, if you bring a pair suddenly together, albeit it may be the number 1 and 2 in the world, the fact they've not played together on the circuit means their seeding suffers, because obviously they can't accumulate the points. And we have a situation in the women's doubles where Ding Ning and Liu Shiwen number 1 and 2 in the world, are actually seeded 4. And of course, here we have Timo Boll and Ma Long seeded 17. Well, quite clearly, they're not the 17th best pair here. They're probably somewhere in the top 4. So it's a tough draw for Fan Shendong and Zhu Jin.
It must be very difficult, though, to do the seedings when the pairings don't play very often in the season.
They do have a formula when 2 players are brought together, and it involves their individual points on the world individual ranking list. But clearly, it has to favour results in doubles competitions. As you say, not easy, and I'm sure it will be constantly revised to come up with the best solution for table tennis. But certainly, Timo Boll, Ma Long, if I was a top-seeded pair and I drew them in the last 32, I don't think I'd be too pleased. What a point! And the crowd are loving this, and why wouldn't you? Topspin to topspin. And it was the backhand topspin from Fan Shendong that won the point.
As you said earlier, it's, you know, players have got to have a strong backhand and a forehand now, whereas years ago it was just had a one shot and the backhand was to contain it. But now, and they take the ball so much earlier.
It's certainly an interesting trend as you watch the developments over the years, but players from different countries combining together is happening more frequently than it used to do. If we go back 20 years to the World Championships, it would always be 2 players from the same country playing together, with the very odd exception. Now, much more regular occurrence, of course. Chinese players are playing in Europe, European players are playing in China, in the various leagues, the Chinese National League, the Bundesliga, and so they play doubles in club matches together, they train in doubles together. So the world is a smaller place these days with modern travel. 7 points each.
One forehand and then the next. Starting to direct the ball in the right places too. Drop really good on 1 or 2 beforehand where he was able to arc the ball down the line. That can be very useful in doubles too. So you're giving your opponent less time to react.
They take the ball so early sometimes. But very economical strokes, very short.
It's interesting, isn't it? That's definitely, the game has got faster as time has gone on, and that's one of the key factors, players staying close to the table, taking the ball earlier. And I think they're playing with harder wood now as well. The blades are harder, faster rubbers, and a combination of an earlier timing point. The game is so quick and it's close to the table.
The air conditioning going up, you know, the bigger the crowd, the more the air conditioning's used. That means when there's some lobbing rallies, like we've seen there with Latinov missing that smash, sometimes that's because the ball is meandering in the air. It's quite difficult to see that, so you have to adjust.
So Zhu Jin with the serve. 8 points apiece. Well, that's a great topspin from Timo Boll.
And there's a lot of spin on the ball. When you're watching it on TV, you can't always see the spin, but there is an incredible amount of spin and speed there.
Just lifted the ball a fraction too much there, Timo Boll. Nods his head, he knows what he did. And there we see these statistics for China. 6 quadrants and the areas where the ball is being played. Very interesting tactical analysis. So Timor Ball serving at the business end of this second game. And there we have a game point for Marlong Timor Ball. This point for a 2-0 lead would put Bolt and Ma very much in the driving seat. Can they make it? Bolt with his second serve. Push from Marlong fractionally high, but Zhu Jin pounced on the opportunity. He's literally standing down the backhand side of the table when he played that shot. Amazing footwork. 10 points apiece. Alternate serving now. First player, or first combination, first pair to win 2 clear points.
I'm saying the ball's cracked. I think that's sometimes what happens when the ball hits the edge of the bat. It tends to crack the ball.
Of course, we're now playing with the plastic balls. Celluloid balls disappeared a few years ago, and there's been an interesting development playing with the plastic balls. The players will tell you that even though there's a lot of spin, the plastic ball doesn't quite take as much spin as the celluloid ball, and sometimes the bounce, it doesn't quite come through as fast as the celluloid ball. And of course, when you've had 20 years of playing with a celluloid ball, or 15 years, it's very difficult to adjust to a slightly different bounce. But no complaints here from the players. And now, game point for Fan Shendong and Zhu Jin. They've saved 1, and they've now got 1 for themselves. And the flick from Timor Ball off the end of the table. And the second game goes to Fan Shendong and Zhu Jin. And this third round match, all square, 1 game apiece. And so, words of wisdom. We can just hear Wang Hao in the background. Unfortunately, my Mandarin is not good enough to interpret what he's saying. There's that flick just off the end of the table. So 1 minute with the coaches. They're coming back to the table. And this time you can see 4 winners for Fan and Zhu. Just the 1 for Paul and Ma. Again, it was the closest of margins. 12-10. A few more unforced errors, or at least 1 more unforced error from Fan and Zhu. But the stats there just favouring the Chinese pair, and indeed the Chinese pair just winning. Timor Ball to serve, start of the third game. It's 1 game each.
With only having Roskov in the corner coaching, do you think he would have discussed with the Chinese coach beforehand, or because they're playing against Chinese players, there would be no such discussion?
It's an interesting point. I think had Timor Ball and Marlong been playing a Swedish pair, French pair, then we would have had a Chinese coach in the corner sitting alongside Roscoff working with Marlon. The fact that it's a Chinese pair that they're playing, I think the policy would be in China that you don't coach against your own players, so it sort of makes political sense. I know that's a strong word, political sense. It makes sort of sporting sense not to have a Chinese coach coaching against the two young men on the screen there.
Because you've been a coach, so you won't want to coach against one of your players if they're playing in an opposition, would you? So,
no, absolutely. 1 minute you're coaching against them, and then the next minute you're in the coaching hall, the training hall, working with them. It's very difficult for the players to confide in somebody about how they feel if that person's about to coach against them. So 3 points apiece, and all four players taking the opportunity to towel down. Ball and Marlon statistics there. You can see a pretty even distribution with the exception of the 26%. That's obviously out wide onto the backhand side.
Moved around there, quick footwork, playing this forehand on the diagonal.
So quick on his feet, Fan Shendong got across wide on his backhand side, played a very powerful forehand topspin. Difficult to tell where he's going to place that ball when he plays his forehand from the backhand side. 75 kilometers per hour that ball was traveling at.
They have great deception with their strokes because they're able to, perhaps last minute, turn the wrist, and it can either go down the line or on the diagonal. So sometimes it's very difficult for an opponent to see where the ball's going.
The serve drifted long, and许昕was able to pounce on the opportunity. 7-3.许昕now with his two serves. Just sense the momentum now very much with the two Chinese players. Good backhand down the line. Took the pace off the ball, brushed up the back, spinny. When you brush the ball, you impart more spin. When you hit through the ball, you impart more speed. That was a good push, clever playing by T-Mobile. His opponent was coming into the table to play over the table, so he pushed it long and fast into the body. Here we see it. So许昕comes in, but the ball's deep, so he's got a check, leans backward. So great shot from T-Mobile. Again, the serve just that fraction too high, but what a good backhand return serve.
Well, they're trying to serve a half-long serve, but if it just goes a little bit too long, then they're in.
It's interesting, when you do return with the backhand, as Fan Shendong did then, you're actually at the wrong side of the table. You'll see here, so Fan Shendong now has to scamper back across the table to try and get his forehand in. So it's a great returner serve, but it doesn't help tactically with your positioning on your side of the table. Oh my goodness, what an angle from许昕. Again, he was wide on the backhand side. He came across the inside of the ball, so it gave it the side spin. A wry smile there on the face of Marlon. So 9-7. Business end of the third game.
A lot of the time, you know, when the left-handers receiving serve, they receive on their forehand, but just occasionally they're turning around and playing that spinny backhand, and sometimes that's having an effect.
The angle there was amazing, how wide he got that. Again, I think he was looking to get in with the forehand, couldn't, so he played the backhand, and what a backhand he played, Fan Shendong. 3 game points for the two Chinese players. Topspin from Xu Xin just caught the top of the net, flicked it off the end of the table, 1 game point saved, but still, Fan Shendong, Xu Xin, the number 3 seeds here with 2 game points. Just see how it just flicks the ball over the end line, the baseline. I think we'll see here a short serve from Xu Xin. Fan Shendong looking to get in behind it. And the push into the net from T-Mobile means that Fan Shendong, Xu Xin take the third game, 11 points to 8, and they now lead by 2 games to 1. Wang Hao in the corner, former world champion himself, Olympic finalist on multiple occasions, never managed to win the Olympic gold. China have, of course, won 28 of the 32 gold medals that have been available in table tennis since table tennis went into the Olympics in 1988. And indeed, 3 of those were men's singles. Yu Nam-kyu winning in Korea, 1988. Jano Vivalda winning in Barcelona in 92, and Ru Sung-min winning in Athens in 2004. So there we have an analysis of the third game.
You're like a walking encyclopedia.
I can always remember things when I was actually there watching those games, and I saw all 3 of those finals. So we're back at the table for the 4th game, and it is Xu Xin to serve. Oh, well done, T-Mobile. Again, the secret of success on this point was staying close to the table. Gives the opponents much less time when you can take the ball early before it gets to the top of the bounce. Just relentless pressure from the 2 Chinese players. Any ball played slightly soft, and they're in. Good spin. Xu Xin just not quite getting his racket sufficiently over the top of the ball to compensate for the top spin. Oh, that's very clever play from Xu Xin. He's out wide playing his forehand from the backhand side, but he managed somehow to go down the line. Very little of the table to aim for down the line from out wide at that position, but look at it. With side spin, it's just going further and further away from T-Mobile.
That was difficult to see where he was actually going to place the ball then. It was a great shot down the line, but his action was only the last minute. And he cocked his wrist.
As you can see, almost a capacity crowd, 8,000 seats. It's a complete sellout here in Dusseldorf for the last 4 days. Not quite every seat sold at the moment, but not far off. And of course, primarily a German crowd supporting the German players. How do you think that affects the players? Jill, you've played in front of big crowds domestically when you represented England at the World Championships in Birmingham. Help you, puts you under more pressure?
I think it helps when you've got a home crowd that are egging you on. So I think this will help Boll. I don't think it puts you under pressure because you know everybody's behind you. When they're clapping and they're shouting your name, I think that spurs you on.
Good shot from Marlon. Again, it was played close to the table. And now Boll and Mar with a 2-point lead. And it's Timo Boll with the serve. He's got to keep the service tight, make sure it bounces twice on the other side. Again, he's just steering the ball down the line. Played with good control there. Didn't go for a rocket. Guided it well. So 2 points out of 2.
There haven't really been long rallies, have they? It's all very short touch play. You know, if it's long, someone plays it long, the opponent get in.
The first point of the whole match was probably the most dynamic point. No one can keep at that pace, but you're right. It just highlights the importance of the service and the returner service. Probably the two most important shots in the game.
Played that well, one well into his body. Marlon not able to move out of the way. Right into the crossover point.
Good flick from Marlon. Let the ball come to the top of the bounce, hit through the back of the ball. Second serve coming up for Marlon. There's such a long shot, does Shushin. Makes it very difficult for the opponent to read where is it going. Where is this ball going? And then this time he whips his wrist around the outside of the ball, puts it out wide to Boll's forehand. It's just as easy for him to go across the inside of the ball, send it down the line. So again, as we get to the business end of what is the fourth game, but indeed all three games so far have been the same. It's very tight, 8 points apiece.
Top spin to top spin there. You can see it a little better from this angle, you know, how fast the ball is going and how far away they are from the table.
Timo Boll just going for the backhand topspin down the line. Brave return of serve, just didn't quite lift the backspin. There was heavy backspin on the ball. Timo Boll with his 2 serves at 9 points apiece. What a well-placed flick into the body of Boll. Game point for the 2 gentlemen on screen, Fan Shendong and许昕. Again, Timo Boll to serve, his 2nd serve in this sequence of 2.许昕playing well there. Again, it was the许昕forehand topspin that wins the point, and indeed wins the 4th game, 11 points to 9. And Fan Shendong许昕lead by 3 games to 1. First pair to win 4 games, going through to the quarter-final of the men's doubles. So Fan Shendong许昕looking the favourites. They need 1 of the remaining 3 games, whereas Timo Boll Ma Long need to win all 3. A mountain to climb. Can they do it, Joe?
Well, never say never. I mean, I've seen matches before, you know, where the players have been 3-0 up and they've come back, and 3-0 down and they've come back and won 4-3. So I think you never know.
Probably need the crowd to get pumped up, get behind the German-Chinese combination. And if you look there, the thing that stands out immediately, 8 winners for Fan Shendong许昕against 3 winners for Timo Boll and Ma Long. Probably the difference between the 2 players there. Fan Shendong许昕going for the winners and making them count. They made the unforced errors, but you do that when you go for the big shot. So long as you make more winners than you do unforced errors, you come out on top. And that's exactly what happened. 11-9, that 4th game. Love 5th game, Boll to serve. Sense the crowd a little bit subdued. Richard Prauser, one of our fellow commentators at recent World Championships, is now the sports director of the German Table Tennis Association, basically responsible for all international play and training. And he talked about the crowd here being the equivalent of the 12th man at a football match. In football, they say we have 11 players on the pitch. The crowd is like having a 12th player on the pitch if they get behind the team. Richard Prauser felt the same thing here, that the crowd would lift the players. Well, a test coming up now, and that was a great shot down the line from Boll.
Sometimes they're really important. Just get an early time out there. I've seen a time out sometimes at 9, 7.
Just stepped in, didn't quite get the right position on the ball, didn't quite get over it.
许昕again, trademark shot there. His forehand from the backhand side, probably the best in the world at that particular shot. Wasn't a rocket, as you can see, 70 kilometers per hour, but it was certainly very well placed. Shushin. In fairness, Timo Boll gave Shushin a chance there. Played into his forehand. Always dangerous when you've got a player away from the table, because they'll take the opportunity to come in with the forehand. We'll see it here. So it's into his forehand there, so he launches himself. And he's got a lot of topspin on that ball, Shushin. 3 points apiece.
Well, that always makes it very difficult to smash that ball when there's so much spin on it.
Great serve there. You saw the second bounce was literally on the baseline. And that's, of course, great placement. The player's not sure whether it's coming long or it's a ball that you have to play over the table. So timeout called by Jorg Rostov. Each pair has the opportunity of 1 timeout per match. It's a 1-minute break in play, often used by the coach when he feels that the momentum is in favour of the opponents and we just need to break that momentum. So what better than to have a 1-minute break? And while we're in the break, let's have a quick look at the statistics for China. And there you can see the placement of the ball in those 6 quadrants. And there are the statistics for Boll and Ma Long. Pretty even distribution, 25% in the bottom left-hand corner. Of course, with it being a left-handed, right-handed combination, it's the backhand for one player, but it's the forehand for another player. So you can't actually say 25% are going down the backhand because we've got a left-hander and a right-hander. But very interesting statistics. The ball forehand lands on top of the net and just trickles over the net. Fortunately for Boll and Ma, and the score's level now, 4 points each. Just about to come up. Next one. This is the one that trickles. There it goes.
Shushin not happy with himself there. Felt as though he didn't get round the table enough to play a good stroke. Get that.
But it's interesting, that was his reverse. He used the backhand side. Even though he's a pen holder, he used what we call the reverse pen hold technique. We'll see it coming up now. There, he uses the backhand side of his racket, even though he's a pen hold grip player. And Shushin, one of the finest exponents of that technique. Ma Lin, one of the top Chinese players a few years ago, perfected that technique, and Shushin has now taken it to a different level. Slightly hesitant there. Timo Boll went for the backhand down the line, just overhit it slightly. The crowd doing their best to lift Timo Boll and Ma Long. Very difficult when you topspin and your opponents are staying close to the table and topspinning even stronger back at you. Timo Boll did well there, just managed to lean to create a little bit of space between his body and the racket.
It was interesting there, he made 2 signs. before my long serve then, so I wonder what that meant.
Maybe changed his mind, Joe, don't know, but it's certainly very technical, very tactical, and really does highlight the importance of the service, that so much attention and thought is given to the serve, the amount of spin, the placement. See, look at the little signal here, the little finger. I assume that means a short serve. Well, it was a short serve.
But then if you're serving, you can tell your opponent what spin is on the ball. Then if he does a serve with no spin or little spin, then you will know that it could possibly pop up and able to step in.
And now the two Chinese players can see the finish line. They're 3-1 up, 9-7, 2 points away from a place in the quarter-final. T-Mobile with the serve, Shushin with the return. And it's now 3 match points for the two Chinese players. Oh, that's a good backhand from Marlon. A lifeline for the Germany-China combination. And indeed, timeout now has been called by Wang Hao in the Chinese corner. China have the service, so no doubt they'll be talking a little bit about the serve. Wang Hao reminding them to stay focused, although I don't think they'll need much reminding of that fact when a place in the quarter-final of the World Championships is up for grabs. So Marlon and T-Mobile are back out at the table. And they are now joined by the two gentlemen on the screen, Fan Shendong and Shushin. So 2 match points remain. And it is Shushin with the 2 serves. Can they win the next 2 points? T-Mobile, Marlon. What a point to finish this men's doubles match. The two Chinese players there, smiles of delight. T-Mobile, a wry smile on his face. He knew he'd done his best. He put in a very creditable performance, but he's up against the number 2 and 3 ranked players in the world. So the 36-year-old, ranked 8 in the world, eliminated from the doubles. Smile from Wang Hao. And Shushin, Fan Shendong shaking hands with Jörg Roskopf. And I think it's going to take a fair pair to beat these two, Jill.
Well, when you're 2 and 3 in the world and how they performed there, I think it is a difficult task, but we've got some very accomplished doubles partnerships, so we'll just have to see what happens in the next round.
Absolutely, but confirmation then, Fan Shendong and Shushin of China beat T-Mobile of Germany and Marlon of China by 4 games to 1 and progressed through to the quarterfinals of the men's doubles here at the World Championships in Dusseldorf. Well done, China.